Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Neil Nash. I'm the Managing Director for the Eastern U.S. for our core diagnostics business here at Abbot. It is my privilege and honor to welcome Jessica Giacona to the stage with me today. Jessica is the core laboratory supervisor at Auburn Community Hospital in Auburn, New York. Jessica is board certified and New York State licensed medical laboratory scientist. She is a two-time graduate of Wayne State University in Detroit, Michigan. She has a bachelor's degree in biological sciences as well as a bachelor's degree in medical laboratory services. Jessica started her career in Ann Arbor, Michigan at the University of Michigan. She then relocated to Central New York with her family. She brings forth significant knowledge and expertise to the lab at Auburn Community Hospital, and with her years of experience and many leadership positions. Additionally, at one point, she was the blood bank manager for Auburn Community Hospital, and she's the former lab manager at St. Joseph's Hospital in Syracuse, New York. So, Jessica, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So this is our disclaimer. So, Jessica, if you could describe for us your hospital and your laboratory.
Sure. Auburn Community Hospital is a 99-bed acute care facility located in Central New York. It serves as the sole provider of acute care and general hospital services for Cayuga County. Considering that our facility's presence within that area is vital to the community's health and welfare. To meet the growing needs of our community, the hospital has taken on several expansion projects, including our newly built oncology center, as you see here. And more development projects are in the work, including our Auburn Heart Institute and Bone and Joint Center that are currently in the planning and development stages. Our laboratory, to support all of these services, is a major component to our facility's success in offering quality, comprehensive care to our patients. We currently perform about 290 tests in-house, 1.7 million tests annually. 2/3 of our volume originates from outpatient services. So we have quite a big, laboratory considering our size. With that said, we are looking to improve our technology to support our growing needs. And that's what brings us to the Alinity H. So having been believers in Abbot technology, considering that we were early adapters to the Salinity CI series, so we put forth our trust in Abbot before, we were very eager to have the potential to acquire the Salinity H series, and we really set forth on a mission to do that post its FDA approval. And we are very proud of the fact that we were the first hospital customer in the country to obtain the new instrument post FDA approval. And that was what we consider quite a big feat for our local neighborhood community hospital.
That's wonderful. So, Jessica, I've had the opportunity to come out to Auburn and meet your leadership team, and I know that this was a very big decision for you and your team, and you needed buy-in from a lot of people, including your boss, John Baginski, who is the laboratory director at Auburn Community Hospital. John couldn't be here with us today, obviously, so we did ask him to say a few words, and we've got a video of John, and with that, we're going to roll the video.
I'm John Baginski. I'm the technical director of the laboratory here in Auburn Community Hospital. I wear several hats, but technical director is where I focus most of my time. I've had Celldyne hematology probably for 30 years in some way, shape, or form. I actually trained in Santa Clara years ago, and I've always believed in the system. And it's Abbott. And so Abbott brings a lot to the table for me. There's a partnership, whether it be chemistry or hematology or, Abbott ID now doing the COVID testing. Abbott has been a great partnership with us, and it's had reliability. And I think that's what we want. So reliability is a lot. Making the decision has to do with dollars, of course, but it's not just that. So I also want service. I want a team that supports our facility. We work as a partner, and that's the added value that we get with a contract or with a partner. And I've always found that when I've dealt with Abbott. I've always been watching the Alinity H to see when it was going to come out, and I really wanted to push forward with it. I like the technology. Our history with Abbott in hematology has been fantastic. And the hospital itself, during COVID, service lines expanded. Some didn't do so well, but we saw orthopedics, cardiology, and oncology maintain their volumes. And so we just opened up a radiation oncology on campus. We're a standalone facility, nestled between two large cities, and we're still independent. And so we need to, be progressive as much as we can. And the Alinity H complements what we've done in hematology. The accuracy, the in-depth testing, and also our next step is we're going to build a heart institute. And now with the reticulated platelet, we'll be able to do cardiac markers using the same analyzer. Very excited about that. So to get an analyzer is, I might want something, but I have to sell it to different departments for the approval. And first is, of course, our pathologist, the medical director of the laboratory, which he understands the relationship and what Abbott has done for our laboratory. And I also have to meet with the chief medical officer, and I have their support, and also the chief financial officer to make those decisions to go down that route. And they saw the history that we had with Abbott. And our laboratory is a very unique laboratory, whether it be our turnaround times or our efficiency rates, which really are phenomenal. And so they trust what I present to them, but I still have to present to them. And I deal in data. I have 3 screens on my desk, and I present numbers that are, that are accurate. And Abbott was the way to go. And being a smaller facility, I don't have the bureaucracy that to get the approval, and we were able to do that, with 100% support.
All right. So, Jessica, we've heard from John. Now, from you, obviously there were several pivotal factors in the decision you made looking at various hematology systems. What was it about the Alinity H that was most compelling to you in that decision-making process?
Sure. So from a laboratory's perspective, there's a few elements that we would want to consider when looking at new instrumentation. A few of them being capacity, reliability, efficiency, and improved technology. And the Alinity H series option embodied all of those things. In considering capacity in regards to that aspect, the Alinity HQ, the analyzer component of the H series, has a high throughput in processing 119 CBCs per hour for each individual HQ module. And with that expedited processing, each sampling takes less than a minute to complete. There's no sacrifice in the quality of that measurement. With each sampling, even though it's a really short time, each sampling counts up to 750,000 events in comparison to our former technology that only did 20,000. So the quality of the measurement is still there, which was very impressive to us. In addition to that, there were advancements to the tech, reagents, algorithms, and customization capabilities. And we saw that as a great enhancement to increasing workflow efficiency, specifically how we were able to customize our lab protocols algorithms to automatically reflex to slide creation, which in our laboratory was a former manual process that was tech dependent. So this really streamlined that and increased efficiency overall.
Okay. So making the decision was difficult enough and getting it through the process. Now it comes time for implementation, and moving from one platform to another can sometimes be met with challenges. Tell us what your experience was like with the implementation and how that collaboration worked with the Abbot team.
Of course. So having experienced several new implementations, new instrument implementations with different vendors, I can say with confidence that this experience was truly seamless. From planning to training to install, it really, truly exceeded our expectations. No stone was left unturned. Any concern or question that we had was addressed swiftly and appropriately, even to the point of recruiting a global technical support specialist overseas to assist with our install. So that was, great customer service embodied right there. We were also very impressed with the commitment to education and training. We had a great experience at the Abbott Dallas Training Center, where we got excellent hands-on experience that made us feel very comfortable with the analyzers, and we brought that back with us. And then also the technical application specialist came on site and provided great knowledge and expertise to our staff and assisted wholeheartedly with the training, made sure we were completely satisfied with that. So we really could not have asked for a better partnership. And to put it in perspective, we got the instruments in December and were live, had our staff trained by February. So I think that speaks to the quality of the implementation.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Very, very impressive, and that is a pretty condensed timeline, so thank you. So I know that you also have done some studies between your previous analyzer, the Salinity Sapphire, and the Alinity H. Could you highlight some of the operational as well as efficiency enhancements between the previous system you had and the Alinity H that you have today?
Of course. So, when getting new instrumentation, you hear about the advancements in the tech and the improvements that are made, but, you want to see it actually visualized. You want to know that you've made a good investment and that there is true improvements there. So I did my own internal study during the validation process, where I did a comparison of the performance of our former hematology platform, which was the Salinity Sapphires, to that of the Alinity HQs, to the Alinity H series, using patient specimens that were being received in our laboratory. And I'll go over a couple examples that will give a comparison of what that was like. So this first example is a case study that really embodies how former interference due to resistant RBCs, lyse-resistant RBCs, would impact the quality of WBC measurements. So, for example, there are certain RBC morphologies that on the former instrumentation would yield erroneous results during processing. So that the solution to that was to reprocess these samples in different modes using increasing lytic potential to overcome that interference. And that was what happened in this case. The sample was run several times over using increasing lytic potential in these different modes to really no avail. And it was due to an overabundance of target cells. You can see the impact that it had in this particular case by the imprecision of the WBC counts here. They differ by 2 to 3 fold. So that, that truly shows how that interference impacted the quality of the WBC measurement on the former platform. Now, switching over to the HQ, initial analysis yielded completely acceptable results. So despite the presence of these resistant resistant RBCs that were resistant to reagent-induced lysis, and lysis by increasing lytic potential on the former instrumentation, that was not a problem on the HQs. These are screenshots of, we ran them on both our HQ modules because they were available at the same time during this validation process, and both yielded acceptable results with initial analysis. So it's also showing not just accuracy, but precision among the instrumentation, that this did not impact the quality of measurement. So why was this the case? The answer lies within the improvement of reagent quality, reagent reformulation, as well as the processing and software algorithms to the HQ. So there was a reformulation to the hemoglobin reagent on the HQs, that this hemoglobin reagent has the ability to lyse these RBCs that were formerly resistant and would not lyse, due to reagent-induced lysis. So that was no longer an issue and didn't impact the measurement of both WBC and WBC populations. However, the software algorithms were, even though despite it giving quality results for both the RBC indices of the CBC as well as the WBC and WBC subpopulations, it still indicated the presence of these resistant RBCs as a morphological flag. We built our lab protocol that it would reflex to an automated slide. This way we could indicate the presence of that clinically relevant information, that there were target cells present. We still were able to automatically release CBC results that, were quality CBC results, and also provide that clinically relevant information that there were the presence of these clinically relevant RBC morphologies with that reflex to the slide review. So in comparing these two methodologies, we had the former have the need for several reprocessing, which, will require more sample from the patient, require the use of more reagent and more time. So a far, not just less accurate, a less efficient process versus the HQ that provided acceptable results with the initial analysis, as well as automated reflex to the creation of a slide for that review. So an overall more accurate and efficient process. This next case study will describe different interfering substances, such as the presence of hemoglobin C crystals, nucleated red blood cells, and some other resistant RBCs, specifically spherocytes, and how those either interfering substances or interferences with RBCs impacted WBC measurement, and how that was difficult to account for on the previous technology. So in our laboratory, we developed a protocol where if we had suspect RBC values that were associated with an asymmetrical RBC flag, along with erroneous WBC population results, we would perform dilutions on that sample to try and dilute out some of those interferences. So obviously that's a manual process, that's labor intensive, requires more sample, and requires a lot of time. That's, a lot of reprocessing and manual work. And sometimes it would clear these interferences, and sometimes it wouldn't. So you would do all of that work and you may or may not get an acceptable result. And that's what happened in this case. I didn't include all of the screenshots, but there were several reprocessing of running in resistant mode due to the presence of resistant RBCs in this case, but then also performing several manual dilutions in attempt to clear out some of that interferences. And that didn't work. We ended up having to manually create a slide and do a manual WBC estimate. So a long way to get to the final result. Whereas on the HQ, we had acceptable results for WBC and WBC subpopulations with with the initial analysis. There was no reprocessing required or involved with the HQ. So a huge, improvement in not just the quality, but the efficiency of the sample processing. And why was this the case? And in this scenario, it's attributed to reformulation of the WBC reagent that with the HQ is semi-permeable and will fluorescently tag the nuclei within within these white blood cells and nucleated red blood cells. So if you have an overabundance of nucleated reds or of these other interfering substances, it's able to differentiate between the two on a reagent level, therefore improving the quality of analysis from the initial sampling. And we saw a major improvement specifically in this case in comparing the two methods, the difference in time from in resulting that CBC data from initial sampling to results was the difference of 42 minutes on our former hematology platform, the Celdine Sapphire, to less than a minute on the HQ. So that truly embodies the improvement of the system as a whole, and how the there's improvement to the analysis in both accuracy and efficiency.
Wow. Impressive. And thank you for sharing that with us. And I think it's pretty safe to say you were happy with the Sapphire and it's just gone to the next level with Salinity H. So
yes,
again, thanks for sharing that
definitely
with us. So the next thing I want to talk about, and I know this probably does not get old to you to hear, or for you and John and others to say, that you are the first Salinity H in the United States of America to be installed and to go test of record. And we talked about this a little bit, but tell us a little bit more about how you would rate that experience, the support you've received, just the whole experience from A to Z that you've had with Abbot.
Sure. So as I previously mentioned, the implementation process exceeded our expectations, and much to our luck and satisfaction, this continued on post-go live. We've continued to be impressed with the performance of the instrumentation, like the case studies I just showed you. Those are true patients that we're actually receiving, and we've noticed a significant improvement in our turnaround time and efficiency and satisfaction of the techs that are working, because their job has become a lot easier in knowing that they won't have to, constantly manipulate all of these samples. So we've been very impressed by the overall performance of the instrument. We could not be happier with it. But another component that we're extremely happy about is its reliability. When you're kind of evaluating how great an instrument is, there's two elements that you're usually thinking about, and it's performance and its reliability. If you have an instrument that performs but is not reliable, you're only good as, your last instrument run. And I'm actually quite blown away by how reliable the instrument is. It remains one of our most reliable instruments despite its high volume. It's number 2 right after chemistry. And we've only required true intervention from a field service engineer to continue operation twice in 7 months, which is unheard of for your high throughput automated analyzers. So we continue to be impressed by it.
It was great to hear. And again, thanks for sharing. And obviously the Auburn team is part of that as well, and your buy-in to the process. So thank you for that. So I know you and John talk a lot about how you serve the community and what that means, and how do you advance to serve the community even better? Not even just the community of Auburn, but the surrounding area. You've talked about outreach. So in what ways has this transition to the Salinity H had an impact on your community, and what have you seen in the short time that you've been live with the system?
So I love this question because it's, I think, the best part of the experience, in my opinion. Because as a laboratory, while we were very excited to receive this new technology, it was long overdue for hematology. So while we were really excited for the arrival of the Salinity H, we're even more excited to share that with the community. So we found it fitting to make that first announcement at our hospital's annual gala, which was this past January. And we made this announcement just to the attendees. And when John and I, proclaimed to them that we were getting this new technology that was the newest on the current market, post FDA approval, and we were going to be the first in the country. Our small neighborhood community hospital was going to be the first in the country to have this operational. We were met with overwhelming praise and applause. It truly blew me away that the attendees all understood the magnitude of it, and we made that connection. It was truly amazing. For the rest of the event, John and I were bombarded by questions from all of the attendees wanting to know more about the technology, when we would go live with it. So that interest just really inspired us, and that continued on to our next event, which was our formal ribbon cutting. And that's when we made the announcement to the overall general public. And there were local news that were there at this event. And it was followed by subsequent articles that went out. And after that media blitz, which also at this event, we had, local officials who attended it. There was so much excitement and hype over it. It was truly amazing. The community really embraced this and saw it as a positive, component to our hospital success and providing better care for our community. So it was truly amazing to see how big of an outcome that was. But after this media blitz, we received direct calls to our laboratory from the community wanting to know if their blood could be tested on this instrument. And that type of connection, I've never experienced that type of connection before, where the laboratory had such an amazing, positive, true outreach to, positive outreach to the community, that they wanted to inquire more and saw the value and wanted their blood to be tested on a quality instrument like that we had. And they saw the value in it. It was truly the most rewarding experience to have fostered that connection, with the public, because the laboratory is typically hidden. There's a veil, and we're behind the curtain and we don't have that spotlight. We're not truly seen. But to have that resonate with our neighboring community was just amazing. And we continue to grow and expand our volume. Since the go live of this, we continue to reduce our turnaround times. And that has translated into, providing better care for our patients. And that is our, never ending goal of, reaching to continually provide better quality care to our patients. And I'm very grateful to Abbot for helping us achieve that never-ending goal, because we've truly impacted our community and improved the quality of life within that community. And it's a community that I'm a part of, that's made of my neighbors, my friends, and my family. So it's very personal for me, and I'm very grateful to Abbot for helping with that.
Wow. What a great answer. You said that you liked this question. I think I like the answer better than the question. So really appreciate you sharing that. And at the end of the day, we know that it's your community and your patients that you're there to serve. And we're happy to be a part of that process with you, and truly appreciate you sharing that story. And we truly appreciate your partnership and your confidence in Abbot to be a part of that. As a 32-year veteran here, it warms my heart to hear that. So thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
So with that, that's what we have from a formal perspective, if you will. But if there's any questions anybody might have, we do have a mic. Feel free to ask Jessica a question. She was very thorough. We have one over here.
Oh.
I see.
I'll hold it.
Okay. Hi. How large of a community in terms of demographics and population numbers? Because I was quite impressed with the fact that you've expanded and now have a cancer center on top of the the community hospital and acute care setting.
Yeah. I wish I had exact numbers, but I could put it somewhat into perspective for you. So Auburn is a small city, but it's located in between, I'm not sure if you're familiar with central New York. It's in between two major cities, in between Rochester and Syracuse. And in between, those two major cities, like Auburn, there's several smaller towns and cities that comprise Cayuga County, and there's no other hospital or large facility for those patients. They would have to travel for care up to, either way, about an hour or so. So us expanding our services is vital to all of those, smaller towns and cities that are near us. Because we're their, sole provider for all of these services, unless they want to travel further out. It's critical to the health and welfare of that community. I don't want to misquote and give an actual number of the population, but so we're servicing all of those towns in between. Okay. There was an earlier question that somebody asked, so if you don't mind, I'll just
go right ahead,
speak on it.
please.
So someone earlier had asked what other brand of instrumentation do we have in our laboratory, and specifically what other Abbot instrumentation do we have? And I mentioned this earlier, but we also have the Abbot Salinity CI series, the chemistry and immunoassay platform. And that's something I think that's important to share, because I think part of the success of our go live for Salinity H series is that and another factor into our decision was that we used technology in our laboratory that were a part of the same Salinity family, Salinity brand of instrumentation. And this translated to easier training of our staff. They were familiar with the Salinity instrumentation. The screens are similar. So it was easy for the staff to feel comfortable, in learning this new instrumentation without having it be an uphill battle. And they continue to use, both of these are main instrumentation that sees the highest volume, both our chemistry and our hematology. We continue to use them with ease. And, if a tech hasn't been on either instrument a long time, it's an easy transition because they have that familiarity and comfortability with utilizing the same Salinity instrumentation.
Yeah. Okay. Go right ahead.
That's a 2 million.
On a volume through it.
Okay. So you're a 99-bed community hospital, and I've been there. It's a small space, and you're pumping out 2 million tests per year because you have a lot of outreach. You're being aggressive at getting all of that business in from the community. Can you talk a little bit about how the amount of firepower that you have in such a small space is allowing you to really function as a reference lab in some regards and handle massive batches of tubes coming in all at once?
Yeah. So I'm pretty blown away by it too. We've, for a small lab, we really have quite a high volume for our small one-room lab, and we've added on testing significantly, over the past few years. So we are continuing to grow and to expand. That's why we found it necessary to move on to the Salinity H series, and we're continuing to look for workflow solutions to help us with that. As there's staffing shortages continue to happen, as retirements continue to happen, as it grows far more and more difficult to recruit new staff. We're in New York State. They need to have a license, to be able to work in the laboratory. So that's an additional uphill battle that we have to face in recruitment of staff. So we're continuing to look for, workflow improvements and enhancements in technology to help the laboratory succeed. And Salinity H has really helped us with that. So we're happy with that, and we're continuing to figure out what other solutions we can come up with.
Okay. Well, I don't think there's any more questions. So again, Jessica, thank you so much for making the trip to Chicago. Thank you for sharing your story and your experience. Really appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thanks
Kevin.
again.